Not quite the ideal way to go around turn 6. What should I expect at GingerMan Raceway with RevMatch track days? I'm going to be introducing you to GingerMan Raceway. Just be aware the price goes up every Friday leading up until the event. Generally speaking, the fastest lap times tend to incorporate the most late apexes. But this doesn't necessarily account for trail braking technique, and certainly doesn't always apply to wheel-to-wheel situations, but that's for a very different video and a very different type of track day. Turn 1. Turn 1 comes up very quick right after a slight hill crest, so it's hard to see the turn coming up. This makes your braking zone very challenging to learn because it's somewhat of a blind turn. Work your way up to braking later and later for turn 1. Also, it's not quite a 90-degree angle, so your apex is actually going to be a little bit earlier than you might think. And then you have some room on the right side of the track to track out wide. Turn 2 is probably the second most challenging turn on this course. Try to hit your apex about halfway through the turn, since this is actually an increasing radius right-hand turn. That way you can start increasing your speed and roll back onto the throttle faster, and then again, of course, go track out wide left. Turn 3 is somewhat straightforward. It's almost a double apex, but not really. Get somewhat close at the first point of the turn, and then come real close on the second point of the turn. And again, track out wide left. Turn 4 is barely really even a full turn. You do not have to go super wide out right. You don't have to put in much steering angle. Just get close to mid-apex on the left. Then track out wide to set up for turn 5 and 6. Turn 5 and 6 are a lot of fun. It's probably my favorite turn on this track. Well, it's 2 turns, but you treat it as 1. You're basically going to try to set yourself up for a V shape. Early apex 5, go out wide, rotate your car so that you're pointing in the right direction before you hit turn 6, late apex 6, use the track out wide right. You can see many cars, myself included, tend to go off wide after 6 because you can really carry a lot of speed. I'm going to cover turns 7, 8, and 9 all together because I think it's very useful to think of these 3 turns as one unit. Turn 7 is a long right-hand sweeper. My personal strategy is to stay very close to the inside of this turn and keep on throttle as much as possible. If I'm starting to lose traction, I increase the radius of the turn so that the tires can maintain grip and I can maintain speed as well. And as 8 approaches, you can generally find your way back towards the inside of 8. Then you may find that it's actually quite easy to hit a mid-apex on 8. 9 I consider more of a continuation of 8. You're generally just transitioning the weight from the left side tires to the right side tires, trying to balance and smoothly transition that weight. Try to mid to late apex 9, then go wide out right towards the cones on the right. Then, although it's not considered a turn technically, there is a track extension on the left. Try to hit just the very end of that track extension to carry the most speed. I believe most, if not all, cars should be able to go flat out here and carry a ton of speed past 9 and into 10. Or I should say, before your braking zone into 10. Turn 10. This is the most challenging turn at GingerMan Raceway, in my personal opinion. After carrying so much speed through turn 9 and after turn 9 towards turn 10, you are going to be on a generally flat surface, and your braking zone should generally be completed before you start your turn in for 10, because at the very beginning of turn 10, there is a downward slope, which is persistent throughout the entirety of turn 10. So you are essentially doing a U-turn on a downward slope. It's very tricky to figure out exactly where the apex is here, and I'll admit I had a pretty hard time finding it myself. I'm not really even sure if I found my best apex on this course during my 3 sessions out there. So going back to the beginning of turn 10, brake hard, stay wide, Then once the turn begins, and you will find yourself in a downward slope, off camber right-hand turn. Prepare to downshift if you are willing to try it, because I found if I stayed in third gear throughout this, I did not find myself into the main power band of my RPM range. And do another mid to late apex, trying to get your right wheels as close to the right side of the track about halfway through the turn, and increasing your speed as much as possible, because by the end of the turn you're actually starting to go uphill. This is actually somewhat similar to turn 2, believe it or not, but the turn is so bizarre to me. Turn 10 is the most interesting turn on this track, by far in my opinion. I have yet to experience another track which has a turn similar in feel to this one. My advice would be carry what you learn through mastering turn 2 into your learning turn 10. Between 10 and 11 is a very long straight. Be prepared to brake. Turn 11 itself is very straightforward. It's pretty much a 90-degree angle to the right. Track out left beforehand, brake. You can try to trail brake before turn 11 and into it. Just get it rotated, apex on the right, mid to late apex, track out left, wide. This is really the only main area where you could potentially hit something if you go too wide and too hot off track around turn 11. Now that you've found yourself at the beginning of the track again, keep in mind turn 1 is after that slight hill crest, so it will be somewhat blind, so be prepared. Register for our track day at GingerMan. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you at the track.
It's such an awkward turn. It's so hard.